A woman was about to throw her stepson into the lake when her maid, witnessing the entire scene from a distance, quickly began recording it on her phone. Without hesitation, the maid leapt into the water to save the child. Just as the woman tossed the boy into the lake, the maid caught him below. The woman smiled with satisfaction, but the moment she heard the baby's cries, anxiety swept over her. The maid shouted, "Catch the baby!" Panicking, the woman pretended to fall from her wheelchair, faking an accident. Right then, her husband came rushing over and found his wife lying on the ground beside the wheelchair. Alarmed, he asked what had happened. His wife gasped, "Save the baby, don't worry about me." He hurried to pull the child from the water while the maid climbed out, soaked but determined. The husband returned to his wife and asked, "What happened?" The woman said, "I just fell, and the baby slipped into the lake too." Thank God the maid saved him. But the maid interrupted. "No, sir. She threw the baby into the lake herself." The woman's eyes widened in false innocence. "What nonsense. I would never do such a thing." Her husband turned to the maid. "Are you out of your mind? Why would my wife harm her own child?" "I have proof," the maid insisted. "I recorded everything on my phone." She pulled out her mobile, but it was completely soaked and unresponsive. The husband looked at her with disbelief. "Get out of here," he snapped. "Take the baby and leave." The maid checked her phone again. Still dead. The cruel woman had escaped punishment, for now. Later that day, at home, the woman sneered at the maid and whispered, "See, I can walk, and you can't do a thing about it. You're just a maid. Know your place. If you speak out, I'll have you fired." Moments later, her husband entered with a bundle of cash. "Keep this money safe. It's for your treatment." The woman acted emotional. "You are such a kind and noble man," she said with tearful eyes. "I don't need money," she added softly. But the moment he left the room, she laughed with greed glinting in her eyes. That evening, she met her boyfriend in the garden, where he was already waiting for her. Unbeknownst to them, the maid had secretly followed. The woman spotted her, stormed over, and barked, "Get lost." Later, at home, the woman threw money all around the room in a wild frenzy. Then she started yelling and called her husband. "Who scattered all this money? This is the maid's doing." Her husband angrily summoned the maid and scolded her harshly. "Why did you do this? Leave right now." A few days later, the maid stood in front of the man's car and stopped him in desperation. "For God's sake, your wife is lying. She's not disabled. It's all a charade." The man, shaken but quiet, began to devise a plan. He spread money in a trail from the garden into their bedroom. As expected, the woman spotted the cash, got out of her wheelchair, and slowly followed the trail, walking perfectly. When she entered the bedroom, her husband was standing there, waiting. He looked at her in disbelief. "You can walk? You lied to me? You've been faking this?" She stammered, "I'm better now. I was really sick before." At that moment, the maid entered and said, "Here's your proof. Your wife is a liar." She held up her phone. "It's working now. Look at this. She threw the child into the lake." Just then, the police arrived and arrested the woman on the spot. After everything, the wealthy man turned to the maid with gratitude. "You opened my eyes. Thank you." And from that day forward, the three of them lived a life filled with truth, safety, and peace.